Hi, everybody. Come join me today as I read a devotional from Every Day with Jesus by Andrew Womack. No distractions, please. Mark 4:13-20. And these are they, likewise, which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness. Mark 4:16. The second type of person Jesus describes in the parable of the sower is one who does receive the word with great joy, but their commitment to the word is shallow. The word does not take root in their heart, just as a plant must establish a strong root system to sustain its growth. We must become rooted and grounded in God's word. A seed planted in shallow earth will germinate and grow faster than a seed planted in deep soil because it has nowhere to grow but up. However, the seed in deep soil will put all of its energy toward developing the roots first. The plant in shallow soil will look like it is far ahead of the other seed for a while, but that will not last. It soon withers and dies, while the seed with roots grows strong and brings forth fruit. Notice that afflictions, persecutions, and tribulations are instruments of the devil used to stop God's word from bearing fruit in our lives. They are not good things that God brings our way to improve us. They are instruments of Satan to take our attention off of God's word, thereby stopping the word from taking root in us. It's like the runner who spends all of his time in the grandstands arguing with the hecklers over the way he's running the race. He may win an argument, but he will lose the race. Too much attention on visible growth will cause you to become impatient and not take the time to become firmly established in the truths of God's word. This will always result in fruitlessness. You must not let anything distract you from meditating on God's word day and night, for only then will you make your way prosperous and have good success. By consistently putting God's word first in every area of your life, you will let that word become so rooted in you that nothing can remove it. Okay. So this kind of reminds me of like a dog who has a owner. So the owner is playing fetch with the dog, and they have a ball and they'll play fetch, right? But the dog gets so easily distracted with like a squirrel. The dog's like squirrel, and then after chasing the squirrel for like 3 seconds, it'll be like, oh look, there's a bird. There's a bird. And in the same way, it's like that's how Satan kind of gets our attention off of God's word with all these distractions. And it's so prevalent today in today's society. Like, dude, we got so many distractions. And one of the main distractions being our phone, right? Like we could be on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Reels, and we'll be scrolling and be like, hey, God's word. And we'll hear like part of a sermon or maybe a 30-second, 1 minute Bible verse, and we'll be like, wow, that was so inspiring, or that really hit me. And then we'll scroll up, and then the next thing you know, you got like animals on your feed. You'd be like, cute bats. And then you scroll up again and you'd be like, oh, look, it's a fart video or something like that, right? Depending on however your feed looks. But basically, going back to what I was trying to say is, dude, we are so easily distracted. And this is where we need to be intentional about meditating and putting time aside to read God's word, hear God's word, and meditate on God's word, right? Like actually listening to the Bible, opening up the Bible, reading the Bible, and actually meditating on the things God has to say in his word, right? So I guess you can say, I guess the challenge today is put time aside in your day to actually meditate on God's word, whether it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, put aside 10 minutes. 10 minutes, not that long, right? Read God's word and then actually meditate on it and ponder about it. Think about what does that mean? What are they trying to say? What's the principle in this story? What's the principle in what Jesus is saying? How's this applied in my life? Right? And that's what I mean by actually thinking and meditating what God has to say. Ask those questions towards yourself, right? Like, what does this have to do with my life? What does it have to do with life? You know what I mean? So, yeah. So don't stay distracted. Meditate and focus on God's word. That's it for now. Peace.